Reality finally hits as the palm color people are now realizing that the problem they literally have is their self. They are now realizing that the people that look like me are not really their major problem, in as much as a lot of them are tagging it that they are the major problem. Anyways, I'll go ahead and roll out the clips for you guys so that you guys can actually see and hear what they have to say with their own mouths. I did not say it. I was just sitting down doing my research when I saw all of them starting to call each other, saying, we are our problem. Why are you rubbing it on the people that do not look like us? This is the reason why we are our problem. A lot of them made a lot of confession that might interest you, that you're watching, to be able to watch from beginning to the end. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Sonia. If this is the first time you're tuning in, do subscribe, like this video, drop me your comments, and lastly, do not forget to share for every other person to get this good news. Credit belongs to original creators of every clips and stitches we have in our today's episode, and this video is just for educational purposes, guys, not to come here bash anyone, not to come here and make anyone feel uncomfortable. We do not support any form of violence here. And yes, with that being said, thank you so much for always coming back to watch my video. Let's dive right into it so that you can hear with your mouths, you can hear with your ears, and also see with your eyes. Let's go there, guys.
White people, stop pretending to be good people if you can't call out white supremacy. I got news for you. You're not good if you can't call out white supremacy. Don't pretend to have morals if you can't call out white supremacy. If you can't acknowledge white privilege and white supremacy culture and system operating as a plague in our fucking nation and our fucking world, don't pretend to be moral. Don't pretend to be a good white person, because you're not. And I'm going to share with you guys something that I've never told before, a story. Many years ago, a white coworker told me, confessed to me, I guess because I'm white, told me I don't like black people. And I said, why you don't like black people? Tragically, he had lost his daughter, and he blamed a black man for it. His daughter died of a drug overdose, and they found out that a black guy had sold his daughter the drugs, and she died from an overdose. And he said, because of that reason, Dixon, I do not like black people. And I said, so let me ask you something. If a white guy had have sold you, your daughter, those drugs, would you not like all white people? And he said, well, that's not white culture. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, white people are not involved in drugs. Black people are. And I said, no, you're involved in white supremacy, because black people are not involved in drugs any more than white people. That's a fact. You have bought into a lie that white supremacy taught you, that black people are drug dealers, just like Trump said, right? Mexicans are mostly, a lot of them are rapists and drug dealers. You bought into that lie. You bought into white supremacy culture. That's why if it happened to the same, if a white person sold your daughter those drugs, you wouldn't not like all white people. That would be silly, right? It's the exact same thing with black people. It's stupid and silly and racist of you to think, because one black person does one thing, they're all in that same category. That's how white supremacy works. He's like, well, fuck, man, we'll disagree. All right, we'll agree to disagree. That was the end of the conversation. He probably didn't learn a goddamn thing. He didn't want to learn it. But that's the truth. It is white supremacy. Why people are racist. That's the only reason. Our indoctrination as to why we do not give a fuck about fixing the problem, about trying to dismantle white supremacy. Something happened today. I'm at a gas station and somebody yelled at me from across the way, from a pretty good distance, maybe 90 feet. I said, hey, ain't you that guy that makes some Instagrams? And I said, no. I thought about it and I said, I can't tell a lie. So I drove over there. I said, yeah, I am, man. He goes, yeah, you're the one that does the anti-racism. I said, yeah, I am. And he said, I appreciate you, brother. And of course he was black, because I've yet to ever be recognized by a white person, because I've never, ever had any white people recognize me, because I don't have many white followers, sadly, because white people avoid this conversation all the time. It's what we do as a society. It's what we do as a people. We avoid anti-racism. We don't want to be anti-racist. Not being racist is enough. No, it's not. When you benefit from racism, not being racist is not enough. So this gentleman touched me today because he recognized me and he said thank you. And he encouraged me to keep going. He doesn't owe me a thank you, and I told him that. Because what I'm doing should be the norm. Every white person in America should be calling out the plague called white supremacy in our society. Not just me, not just a handful of white people. It should be every fucking person. But guess what? We're colonizers. We don't have morality. As long as you can't call out and fight to dismantle white supremacy as a white person, you'll never have morality. And you'll never be respected by other people other than white, let alone trusted. White supremacy is a plague for all of us, not just black, brown, indigenous people, for all of us. It's self-destructive. It's toxic to white people. And it takes all of our credibility and dignity away as a white people. And until we fix that, our most neglected sin, until we fix that as white people, we will never know peace.
I was ignorant of just how bad white supremacy was until I started speaking against it. I thought, of course, racism is real, but I'm sure there's plenty of white people out there who want to fix it. There's plenty of people who want to fix the system so that it's better for everybody. The moment I started calling it out for exactly what it is, that's when things started to shift, and that's when I realized the sheer amount of hatred. And I didn't expect for people that I knew to personally attack me, tell me that I was being too divisive, to lose so many people that I thought were friends of mine. I didn't expect the constant threats of violence or being targeted by neo-Nazis online so badly that they leaked my phone number. I didn't expect to be turned into an internet meme and called Crash Out Kylie and subsequently targeted by white supremacists. I didn't think the journey would be easy, but I do sincerely think that I was blind to just how deeply white supremacy runs. And that is certainly a bias that I have as a white person because I never experienced this hatred until I started speaking against it. The truth is that speaking out against racism as a white person isn't divisive, it's necessary. And despite being doxxed and ostracized from my community, I strongly recommend that other white people do the same. Because why would you want to be friends with somebody who's hell-bent on silencing your voice and the voice of people of color?
They're saying that minorities will want to get even with white people once white people become a racial minority here in the United States. Here's the thing that white people don't understand. All non-white people want is to be left alone. So as the white population starts to go down and other populations start to rise, again, non-white communities want to be left alone. It's not about retribution. It's not about vengeance. All of that would have happened a long time ago. It's about leave me alone and let me live my life. But white people have this great fear of what not being in power will mean for them. And who are they? Who am I as a white person if I am not in power, if I am not the oppressor, if I am not the one making all of the rules, and having everyone do things my way? That's the fear. White people, let's talk about it. Let's talk about our violence. White violence. No more deflecting. No more blaming everything on everybody else. Let's confront ourselves. White people in America, our history is so extremely violent. And instead of confronting that, we continue to blame other people for the issues and the problems in this country, instead of just taking ownership of our part to play in everything, which is a huge part. Can we stop scapegoating other groups of people, please, and just look at ourselves? White people, it's time to talk about it. Like, it's long past time. Getting rid of other groups of people in this country is not going to make this country better. It's not going to make your life better. It's not going to make you better. I think white people are so scared to talk about race and to talk about white violence and white supremacy because they don't want to connect themselves to it. We don't want to feel like we're a part of the problem. But unless you're acknowledging the reality of how the US, this country, runs, you are a part of the problem. I truly believe in my heart, in my soul, that if you're born a white person in this country or on this planet, but I'll just speak about this country,
Part of that journey is to dismantle systems that have been built to oppress other people. The hard work of life is to confront yourself. How do I benefit from the way that things are? And how does my benefiting from those things harm other people? And instead of walking around with, 1,000-pound bag of shame on your back, consider it your responsibility to do that work. Consider it an opportunity that you are in the best possible position to make this world a better place by not accepting racist and prejudiced and oppressive systems for what they are and trying to contribute to changing them. Use the privilege that you have for good. I don't think that anybody can ever really love themselves without being honest about themselves, without being honest with themselves. And that work is painful and hard, but it's so worth it. White people, you don't have to consciously think that you're better than other people in order to contribute to harm against them. All it takes to contribute to harm is to stay silent and disengaged. White people, can we finally get this shit right? Can we finally take accountability? Can we finally look ourselves in the mirror and decide that this isn't good enough? We're not doing a good enough job. You aren't losing because somebody else is safe and cared for. You aren't losing because somebody different than you exists. White people, let's talk about it. Let's start having these conversations with ourselves and with each other. It's time.
Hey, white people, we need to have a talk. And this isn't all white people. This is the white people who are giving me a hard time today. So here's what y'all either don't know or forget. I've been observing with eyes wide open, other white people for 51 years. For 34 of those 51 years, I have loved a black man. When that happened, my eyes became even more wide because I realized, even though I had seen it before, but I realized in real time how racist, how biased, how prejudiced most white people are. I'd walk into new spaces and people wouldn't know that they needed to censor themselves yet. So they would just let it fly and they would speak freely and I would be offended. And at the time, when I was young, I didn't know what to do with that. I'd get upset and I'd cry. I'd remove myself from the situation, but I didn't know how to stand up for the situation. And mostly that was because the people that were saying these horrific things were people I thought I liked and trusted. And then I realized I can't like and trust you anymore. So it was hugely disappointing. As I learned and grew, I understood that I have a voice and I can speak up, and you see me on here all the time talking about all kinds of anti-racism work that I do. So, I learned how to deal with that and how to open my mouth and say something. You might remember that at my last job, I was there for over 20 years. So the first few years, I heard some derogatory things, and then people learned who I was and said, "Ooh, we can't say those things in front of Tracy." So I foolishly thought that maybe the world was changing because people didn't say that stuff around me anymore. I mean, I know realistically, when I think about it, I knew they were censoring themselves, but I guess I just enjoyed being in those spaces where people either truly didn't have terrible views and racial biases, or they knew enough not to say it in front of me. But then fast forward and I start a new job where, I was last year at a new school, and it starts all over again. And this time though, because I have my voice, I can say something and I can help educate, and I can say, hey, I know, you may not have had bad intent with that comment, but let me tell you what you just said. So I appreciate y'all telling me that ghetto is a fine word and that there's nothing wrong with saying it, and then you're calling me the racist for thinking there's something wrong with it. But I live and breathe in this world that we're in, and it's a derogatory term. So let me tell you that I don't want to hear it. So if you're around me, please don't use it, particularly as an adjective, to call somebody or something ghetto. Although, why would you want to describe the place where you live? And that I have all these people, I'm white and I grew up in the ghetto. Okay, like, do you want like a sticker or like a sash or something? I don't really know what your point is.
White people are suffering from white supremacy too. I had a conversation with a client the other day who is a professor. They teach about white supremacy, African American rhetoric, and XYZ, and different concepts in the diaspora. And we were talking about how white people also are affected and are suffering from white supremacy as well, in the way that my phone overheated, but in the way that white people have no connection to their own culture or any culture whatsoever other than whiteness, white American culture. So an example of this would be that my friend and client who asked his class, how many of you participate in mutual aid? Nobody raised their hand. None of the white people raised their hand. He goes, okay, let me rephrase that, and says, how many of you have gone to a friend's house and their parents cooked for you? And then everyone raised their hand. And he goes, right, this is mutual aid. The way that white people have had to come up with a word for community, aka mutual aid, shows that they are suffering from white supremacy as well. While they think they're benefiting, you're actually not allowed to participate in things that would be beneficial to you because of white supremacy. And it's made to seem like Black and brown people are the only people who participate in these things or who would benefit from these things. We, as POC people, we've always known and always participated in mutual aid or community because that's how we thrive. And we are not just self-focused, we're community-focused, community-oriented. And so the things we do are not just for ourselves, they're to benefit our community because that's how it's always been in our cultures. And while white people for so long have tried to strip us of our culture, we still have roots that tie us to our ancestors and our culture and these different practices that have been around long before we've ever existed. And if white supremacy didn't exist or wasn't so prevalent, white people would be allowed to connect to their culture as well. But they've been so brainwashed into believing that having culture or allowing Black and brown people to participate in their culture is a threat to them, and that when we engage in culture it's part of our culture to be violent or oppressive, but really that's white supremacy culture. That's what y'all created. It's not in our culture to overtake others and be violent unnecessarily and hateful and oppressive. That's just not in us. Our cultures are uplifting and bring community together. We dance, we sing, we create, we craft, we tell stories. That's our culture, and that's many of y'all's culture. But white people refuse to see it that way. And so really, white people are keeping themselves in this vicious cycle of disconnection, of violence, and then want to be like, well, slavery was 300 years ago, like, why don't you just forget about it? No, like, you're still keeping that shit going, and it's actually having negative impacts on white people as well.
How can someone be a white supremacist and not even know it? Easy. Most are. White supremacy isn't just swastikas and burning crosses. It's the belief, conscious or not, that whiteness is the default, the standard, the norm, and most white folks were trained to see it that way from birth, even if no one sat them down and said, being white is better. Think about these issues. If you think of Black names as unprofessional, if you get uncomfortable when race is mentioned, if you've said, well, I didn't own slaves, if you think racism is about bad intentions instead of systems, if you see injustice and your first worry is tone, not harm, that's not neutrality. That's how white supremacy survives. But here's the deal. It's not about shame. It's about honesty. If you've inherited a broken system, and we all did, your job is not to feel guilty. Your job is to notice, unlearn, and stop passing it on. So before you say, I'm not one of those white people, ask yourself, am I holding up this system without even realizing it? One share shows you care about setting the record straight. And if you believe white folks need to deconstruct their personal racism, consider supporting my work at coffee.com/Kelly Snyder. And if you're ready to go deeper, get curious.
White people were the first people to be subjugated under white supremacy. If you don't understand history, that won't make sense to you. But Europe was at war for centuries. Why? Because the British and the Spanish elites viewed Nordics, Celtics, and Welsh as savage people who needed to be civilized. The same excuse they have used to subjugate all people, right? In order for European elites to subjugate the rest of the world, they first had to subjugate Europeans. Without the subjugation of the Irish, the Scottish, the Welsh, white supremacy would have been essentially impossible. The system didn't start off as white versus non-white. It started off as Celts versus Saxons, Catholic versus Protestant, peasant versus aristocrat. There has always been an ethnic, religious, and class-based hierarchy within inside of white supremacy. As the subjugated grew bigger than the subjugators, then came the creation of white, right? A way to racially pacify an also burdened group or subjugated group of people. Because initially, the concept of white and black did not exist. They created that concept so that white people would be pacified and side with the elites so that European people would side with the elites instead of African and indigenous people. Without the concept of whiteness, subjugated would have outruled the subjugators. What did they do? They created this whole class of a right to liberty, right to bear arms, right to pursue freedom of happiness. Also, that white people were ingrained with this ideology that they were a human entitled to something that African and indigenous people were not entitled to. A racial bribe, per se. Without this concept, elites wouldn't have a foot to stand on. Capitalism would be non-existent. White supremacy would be non-existent. It gave white people power under white supremacy over people of color, but ultimately, they too are still subjugated. It's only when white people break from the subjugation of whiteness, right? The mind control that whiteness has on their mind, that is when white supremacy will be destroyed, right? They were the first to be subjugated, right? They will be the last to be subjugated because they have been the most pacified by the concept. When white people are tired of being subjugated, then white supremacy will fall. Also, don't forget to follow me on YouTube and follow me on here because I love talking about socialization and how it intersects with basically everything and how we are in this predicament that we are in now.
Welcome back, guys. Welcome. You can hear them literally saying that they are the problem that they actually have. And first of all, I want to say shout out to every single creators in this particular video because I keep saying it. It is very, very okay for you to know that I am the problem. It is another thing for you to admit that, yes, you are really the problem. And when I see people like this coming out to air out their opinion, I really do not blame them. Let's start from the first clip that we actually watched, where you literally see this palm-colored man trying to rob the death of his daughter to the people that look like me. Reason because that was what he believed. Do you guys get? So it is coming from a place of belief that, okay, this is what these people are doing. So the only person that he tagged or he sees that can actually sell that stuff for his daughter was someone that looked like me. Do you get? So you can see that a lot of them are passing through different belief for them to be able to come to a final conclusion and be like, you see this set of people, I don't like them. You see this set of people, I need to distance away from them. You see this set of people, I just need to stay away from them. But at the end of the day, by the time they start looking out, checking out for their research, they find out that those same set of people that they are running away from, they are innocent people. Do you get? It is now becoming more of the white on white crimes. So I love the fact that some of them are coming out now to now airing out their opinion and saying that These people are not the problem. We are the problem. The problem is, how do we fix ourselves? How do we do things the right way? How do we portray ourselves out there that at the end of the day, we don't get to start seeing histories repeating itself over and over again? It's a very amazing thing because it is not easy. So now the palm color people are now realizing that they are the problem they have. They are the major issue with yourself, because even if you check a lot of things that have actually gone up these past few days, where a lot of them will be thinking or will love to be like, oh, it is actually not from us. I think it will just be from people that do not look like us. And at the end of the day, they find out that this is just their crime. This is just their thing. It is coming from them. So I love one of the questions that one of the lady asked. She said, now, how do we fix it? How do we fix it? How do we embrace each other as one? How do we forget about every single thing called race? How do we forget about every single thing called color? How do we forget about every single thing that has been dragging us backward and fix ourselves? Because they are now coming to realization that if they don't fix themselves first, they cannot fix anybody. And the fixing have to come from the adults to even the children that they're having. You know, that was why it was a whole alarming where a palm-colored pastor actually came out to be like, the problem that they are having is the people that look like me. And a lot of them reacted to it, like telling him that you are a man of God, you don't need to be saying this. How will you even say they are the problem where we know fully well that we are the problem? The pastor went ahead to still say that if a child is growing up and the parents do not tell a child that people that look like me space is actually not safe, that the parent is actually not doing well for that child. A lot of them came back for the pastor. A lot of the palm-colored people, they came back and they were like, you don't say that. We're trying to fix things. Don't scatter it more. A lot of them are now coming out to air out. This is the main reason why I have to stop doing what I'm doing. This is the main reason why I feel like racism is not a game for anybody. Racism is too expensive. Let's stop it. Let's come together as one. Let's love each other. Let's embrace each other's culture. Let's embrace each other's food. Let's embrace each other's tradition. Let's embrace each other's love. Let's embrace each other's skin. And let's just move on with our life. A lot of them are doing it already. But some of the stubborn ones are still not doing it. Those ones that feel like no matter what you preach, no matter what you say, no matter how it is, as far as they are concerned, if you look like me, you are out of the game for them. But now, this is what I always keep telling my black people that look like me especially. I keep saying it, right? Making peace is very good, is a very good thing. Making peace, it is the best thing that can happen to any man. But in as much as you're doing that, you also need to know that you have to keep a long spoon. You have to keep a long distance, not because of anything, just for your mental health. Not because of anything, just for your well-being. Not because of anything, just for your inner peace of mind. But anyways, I leave you to leave me your thoughts in the comment section. What do you think about all of the clips I've been able to roll out for you guys? Do you think that what they're actually saying is right? Do you think that what they're saying is not right? Do you think that we should just come together as one as quick as possible, or everybody should just stay at their distance and maintain their peace? I really want to get your opinion in the comment section. If you haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for? Do what, subscribe, drop me your comment, and lastly, do not forget to share for every other person to get this good news. And I want to say a very big thank you to every single one of you coming back to watch my videos. I do not take you guys for granted. You guys are absolutely the best. Keep doing it, and God super duper bless you. Anyways, credit belongs to original creators of every clips and stitches we have in our today's episode. And guys, with no further ado, I do look in my videos. I'm going to be safe, and I'll see you guys in my next one. For now, bye guys. I love you and do not touch the die.